Got a 661 on the bench today. We're going to install one of Gordy's Westcoast follower kits. These bushings right here are made out of, I don't know what they're made out of. They're nice hard rubber. The other ones that come on here, look, I'm a steel guy, but the factory ones that come on here are, this one's a little bit more robust, but the one that goes in there is soft, squishy foam, and it's just not up to the task. They go bad pretty fast. Anyway, one other quick thing. I noticed the fuel was pretty cloudy, but you know, it's a byproduct. Any kind of fuel cap, it's not just steel. Every time you take it off, a couple of crumbs fall in, so it's always good to check. And don't just dump the fuel out. Use some compressed air afterwards, because there's still, you know, crumbs and stuff down in there. This is going to get a new fuel filter, obviously, but here's the fuel that came out of it. Looks pretty good. It's settled, but let's switch this up and you can see all material in there, and we've got a little bit of water in here, so that's another reason why we're going to flush this tank, do a full service on it. Max flow is probably going to get cleaned up and re-oiled, so sit tight and we'll service this rascal. I was expecting this filter to look a lot worse, but I'm pretty sure it's not flowing like it's supposed to. But if you ever want, you can just, you want to see how your fuel filter looks, you can just grab onto this and this just snaps off. You can put everything back together and snap it back together. They used to sell these cores, but I don't believe they do anymore. You know, I mean, the fuel filter is $7 or $8. What's the big deal? Once a year. I'm gonna take you in here. I got the saw cleaned up, but you see there's not even a bushing in there. That's just that nub. So it's easier to just take the whole handle off, and then the one bolt that holds in this piece right here is behind your dog. You'll actually have to remove it. Here's one of the things you'll have to watch out for, because when this wears away, you know, there's supposed to be like a little lip right here to hold this bushing. And by the way, if I can't stress this enough, like, I wouldn't waste your money on buying one of the foam ones. You know, this is off another saw. You know, they're just, they're terrible. So anyway, these are made out of whatever material Gordy says they're made out of. But if you don't have a lip right here that's left, this won't stay on. You'll flex enough. All right, so I'm not gonna show you the whole install process. I've got this all back together. If you're not sure how to do this, Gordy actually has on westcoastsaw.com a video of how to do all this in depth. But I do want to show you, you know, he's not just making aftermarket parts, he's actually making better parts than OE. Look how the difference. So now that this nub is not allowed to move around a whole lot before it actually gets some support while you're yeeting on your saw. I'm gonna swap this out as well. There's actually supposed to be there, that's what's supposed to look like. And this helps guide, this is like your inner, so you've got, steel calls these glides, but it just helps keep your chain on track right here. And obviously, you know, it's a wear part. So anyway, that looks better. That's all installed, super easy, goes in actually better than the factory one. What's next? I've got the max flow serviced over there and ready to go, and I've got the bar over here. I've done some bar dressing in the past, but I want to show you like a handy dandy pointer that I'll do here in a sec. This plug doesn't look too terribly bad, but you can see all of this, and that's hampering a good contact. So I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to pull the plug, and then I'm also going to shoot like a little bit of brake clean and some compressed air, and I'm going to get all that gook out of there, so that way I know we're getting a good contact, a good fire. Steel recommends for an M-tronic saw a fresh fuel filter every 6 months, and this is in commercial use, obviously. 6 months and 6 months. So I mean, it's small ball stuff, just don't forget to do it. All right, so when you're installing a new plug, this right here is called a crush washer. All right, and it is supposed to flatten out to make an airtight seal. So that's finger tight, and then usually takes about half, 3/4. I need both hands, but you know, quarter turn is not quite good enough. Usually it takes about a half a turn to really get that seat. And you know, obviously I'm not pushing too hard on that because the saw would flip over, but you get the idea. I've seen more stripped spark plug holes from spark plugs not screwed in all the way, or not without the crush washer crushed, than I have over tightening. Yeah, so there's about 3/4 of a turn, almost. I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but I did want to mention, I'm not a big fan of the aerosol filter oils. You know, I think half of that product is meant to evaporate. But anyway, this is the thickest, gooeyest, best filter oil I've come across, and this is made by Bel-Ray. You could barely see it, but Bel-Ray makes really good stuff. As far as cleaning this, I know you're not supposed to, but I dunked this filter in that old gas that I took out of the saw, and it just dissolves this tacky filter oil better than anything else I've tried. And then obviously blow it out, get it completely dry, and then re-soak it until when you squeeze on it, you can get a little bit to ooze out in between your fingers. You know, but all right, the bar's not horrible, but we're gonna dress it anyway. So if I can get that to focus, you see how it's kind of peeling right there. We're gonna smooth that out. And you know, I preached about, here, let me back this out so you can see. Joys of no tripod today. This was a spontaneous video. This is made by Preferred, and it is a bar rail dresser. Anyway, good stuff. You know, you get the built-in guide, so you've got your 90-degree. See how you've got that, so that gives you nice, clean, and then you know when you want it. So that's for doing the top, and then you flip it over to the other side, and then you can run it like that. It's a one direction file, so just make sure you're going in the right direction. I will say you'll get better results than just trying to eyeball it. I keep a Sharpie here and do a little bit of poor man Dykem on the reel. Let me get this thing painted up. I'll make a handful of swipes across it, and this way I can show you what you're missing if you don't do it thoroughly. How's that? There's a right and wrong way. All right, this one doesn't have uneven rails. This bar is still relatively new, so the wear is not as significant, but you can see, like, I haven't even touched right here where this side's clean. These are pretty even right here. Then we get down to the end, you know, we're just not making good contact. So it's a good way to show you, because the idea is to have these rails perfectly straight. You know, if you got one rail that's higher, it's going to kick your chain off to the side just a little bit. So that's why we're doing this. And then of course we'll take care of the burrs on the side, flipping this thing over. But I think that's just, it's a helpful tool instead of just eyeballing it and seeing how much more you got to go till you get good, clean, even rails. All right, the other side of the bar is done. She's all slick as a minnow. And you can see, I mean, that really cuts. Now, just like any other file, it's going to wear out. I mean, these aren't forever, but they do sell replacements. I think these are like 35 bucks complete, and then a replacement file's like 12 or $15 or something like that. So just all right, we got a fresh grind on here. Sorry about the background noise. Rakers are all set. Oh, that was like magic. We're running 8-pin sprocket, and yes, there is some performance work been done to this 661. So let's go stick it in the wood, make sure everything runs good, and see how the auto tune recalibrates itself. Now, there's no water in the fuel, and I do, when we get out to the wood lot, I want to touch on that. fluid. All right, little thing to talk about today. Obviously nothing hurt, you know, water in the gas, bunch of trash, fuel filter clogged up. That's when it counts, when you have a little bit more cushion in your oil. And I know I hate to beat a dead horse, but if you're running manufacturer's oil at 50 to 1 and you got one little surprise hiccup like that water in the fuel, you are going to do some damage. I looked in here. This is 50 to 1 at Sabres, what we run here at the tree company. You know, and we ran it at 80 to 1 for years, which is super skinny. We never had a lubrication failure, but I did see over long term, I saw some wear on the piston skirts. Anyway, so we went up to 50 to 1, and that seems to do a lot better. Plus, it gives plenty of cushion if something goes wrong. It's one of the only, I mean, you can run Sabre at 40 to 1, it still burns incredibly clean. But there's that extra little bit of insurance when something goes wrong now that we're not doing a full rebuild. All right, enough about that. I hope you guys enjoyed today. Hope you found it informative. If you're here at the end, don't forget to throw me a thumbs up, and I will see your ass on the next one. One last thing, I didn't have my tripod with me today, so I just made me a stand for my phone. Yeah, one cut won't do it. You kind of have to shave it out a little bit, but it worked like a champ. See you next time.